I'd like to show you how to make a very short character animation or a GIF or a motion graphic animation, something where a little man kind of waves and maybe says something. Character animations are pretty darn popular, and we like seeing people. You know, people like watching people, so they're pretty good at getting attention. First thing we're going to do is make a quick storyboard. If I type in presentation.new into my top, into my URL up here, I can instantly draw. You know, this is a storyboard. Storyboards are just a very quick drawing of what we're going to make. So I'm going to click this little man here, and then I'm going to make a couple rectangles. There's a lot of rectangles in the world. You know, we use rectangles all the time. And I'm just gonna make, maybe I'll make him wave a little bit. Copy paste. Boop. And I'm just gonna make him say a little hi. Hi. And that's it. And then I'm just gonna have, I'm just gonna duplicate this slide. So this is my first kind of 1 or 2 seconds of my presentation. I'm just gonna call this GIF of a man waving and saying hi. That's my purpose. That's the goal of my little GIF animation here. Just a 2 or 3 second GIF animation. And here's the first part of it. Then I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate it, or you can hit Control V, Control C, Control V, and then I'll copy and paste it. And the second part, I'm just going to have it go back and forth. And sometimes I'll put little notes in here. I'll just kind of say, this arm waves back and forth a little. Very simple. Animations, you know, they don't have to be elaborate to get the job done. It can be pretty simple and to make it interesting. And I'm assuming for most of you this will be your first or second animation, so I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible. I don't want a lot of features. So now let's go ahead and find a person. I recommend flaticon.com. It has tons and tons of free images, and they ask you to put a link in there, which is easy to do. If you just search for man, you get these stupid pop-up ads. And this one looks pretty darn good. Again, we're going for simple. So you have to attribute free pick. The reason they want this is because they want you to forward people to their website, which is pretty easy to do. You can just click here and reference flaticon.com. And they probably have a more, you know, they probably want you to do it in a particular way, but you can just put flaticon.com on your animation or in your comments or whatever, just to throw them a free, you know, to say, hey, thank you. Anyway, now we have this this man downloaded here, and I've got a couple of them. So I've got this man silhouette in my downloads folder, and I need him waving. So I'm going to open him up in paint.net. You can use any bitmap tool, but I can't just use this, right? Because he's not waving here. So I'm going to very quick and dirty, I'm going to select using my selector tool. You can use any bitmap editor you want. I like paint.net, which is free. And then I'm going to select his arm, hit M to move, and I'm just going to move that away. And I think I'm going to put it in a totally separate file. I'm going to hit Control X and then Control N for new, which gives me this new image here. And I just want the arm by itself. And it doesn't have to be fancy. I'm just gonna, you can polish it later, but for now, I'm just gonna erase. I want some nice clean edges, kind of clean. There, clean enough. And then I'm gonna save this as arm. arm.png, and I'm going to use that in a second. Then I'm going to round this one out. So my goal here is I'm trying to produce some images that I can work with. And I'm just going to save this as what it was before. And let's see how this looks. If I select all of this, select the whole thing, or you can hit Control A to select all. And then I'm going to hit Control C to copy. Then I'm going to hit Control V to paste. And now I can change this around. Now notice this, this thing here, what's going on here. I'm going to put it in a different layer. I just hit Control X to cut it. And now if I go down here and add a new layer, then I don't get that stupid thing. And now I'm kind of seeing, is this going to work? Is this going to look okay, or is it going to look awful in my image? So, and it looks okay. So here, this is called an anchor point. I can just move the anchor. I'm just kind of testing my drawing. And yeah, that's not the best animation I've ever seen in my life. but it gets the job done, right? It's what we want for this first iteration, kind of my first animation that I've never done before. This is just fine. And we're just going to make them wave like this in our GIF animation. So good. Let's go ahead and use these two images. I already saved them. So now we are ready to go over to Pixteller. We want to create a framework. We want to create a piece, which I'm just going to go over to my files and drop these in. Lovely. And they kind of import way too small for some reason, but I'm gonna put both of them in. Pixteller's free. It's not the best, but we can work with it. And that looks pretty good. So this will be a very small window. So my windows, I kind of want to shrink my window down to, let's try 400 by 400. And we'll put this, we're going to rotate this kind of like this. And what I'm trying to do right now is set up my animation, set up my structure so I can animate it in just a second. And good enough. And let's move him over here, because later I'm going to put in a little hi message. Maybe I'll make him a little bit smaller. There. And we'll start him up like this. And I'm using the arrow keys to nudge it over so that it looks as good as possible. And now we're ready to start animating. Let's name it first. So to start animating, we just hit animate. And now we have these two images. I wish you could rename them. You can't. At least I don't know how to. I don't think you can. So we're not going to touch this one. We're just going to touch the arm here. So here are my frames. So this is a 2-second animation right now. I could make it longer. 2 seconds sounds pretty good. No, let's go ahead and go 4 seconds. So I'm just going to make everything about 4 seconds long. And now I'm going to start working here. Let's have him at the ½ second mark. Usually instead of creating new instances, I like to copy these other instances. It just works a little more cleanly. And so here in my animation, I'm not doing a single thing. It's just static. But if I click on this guy, I can do this. And I can make it move to where I want it to animate to. And these things in here, Pixteller fills in the details. So this is called a keyframe. And then Pixteller knows, okay, he's trying to do this. Yeah, all right. And now I want to end here. And now I can make him wave back by copying this first one and going over here to paste. And there we go. He's waving. Woo! And it'll loop around in just a second. There we go. There's my animation. And now the timing looks pretty awful, right? It looks a little bit slow. So let's see if we can tighten this up just a little bit. and I want him to wave again. So I'm just going to copy this one here, this position, and I'm going to paste it right here. And we could do it again. You know, we could copy this one and paste it here. And let's try that. So now I'm going to test it. Yeah, not bad. And we could stop there. And that's not the worst animation I've ever done in my life. And now I could shorten these and call it done. And then I can render it. But before I do that, I want to show you a little, another little part. I want them to say something. A lot of times in animations, our characters are talking. So that's called a comment bubble. Let's see if we can find one with just the word comment. Here we go. And let's see if I can drop in my speech bubble. Woo! Great. There it is. So here's my speech bubble up here. And now I want him to say, hi. Yeah. I'm going to hit undo. I just hit Control Z to undo that. Right here is fine. And let me go back to my design part to do this. And let's add in some text. There it is. And let's have him say hi. And that font is pretty awful. So here I can pick my font. I want something casual but easy to read. Something that maybe looks like a person wrote it. Yeah, good enough. Okay. And now we want to, and I could change the color on that. I could change the size if I wanted, but I don't care. And oh boy, there. So I'm clicking on these to make sure my ends are where I want them. Now I have text and I have this speech bubble here. That's great. And maybe I don't want it to appear yet. Maybe I don't want it to come in until over here. And then I want, after a half a second, then I want the hi to pop in. And we could start it. So what I want to do, maybe I want it to grow in. I want it to come in suddenly, start from nothing. So I'm going to copy the keyframes and paste them in like this. Copy, paste. And then for these starting ones, I'm going to make the font size 0. And for the speech bubble thing, I'm going to make it tiny. And let's see how that looks. Woo! So I could polish this, and I could also set their transparency. I'll show you how to do their transparency. It was way too slow, so I'm going to make it, boop, there. That's a little bit better. And by the way, it looks kind of robotic. It looks kind of plain. That's because I'm not using, you want to click this ease in and ease out. This kind of makes it look more natural. Same with the waving arms, by the way. It makes the timing start and stop a little bit more smoothly. And it makes it look more realistic. So I would just suggest clicking that on almost everything until you get a little more advanced. Then you can play with these ones if you want. Anyway, let's see how this looks. Yeah, not bad. I could do an opacity one. Let's see if I can find it. Opacity is how see-through it is. Filters and effects. Oh, I think it's under properties. No, come on, where is it? Crop. brightness, maybe I can't affect the oh, here it is. Okay, so this is my opacity, and I could click this one, and let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and set my opacity to 0, and that makes it disappear. That makes it 100% see-through. And let's change my opacity here, and now it's totally invisible, and it's going to look a little bit nicer. Woo! And yeah, not bad. Now a little bit of polish. So when I look at this animation, it's kind of bland. It's kind of lame. It's kind of boring. I want to make my speech bubble pop a little bit. So I want it to grow a little bit bigger and then kind of bounce back. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. You just copy this, paste it here. Same with this, copy and paste. And then I want it to grow a little. Oh, let's do it again first. So I want to copy this again and paste it here. You kind of have to work backwards when you're animating. You set the positioning to where you want it to be in the end, and then you kind of work backwards in parts. So here's where I want it to look at the end, but in the middle of the animation, I want this to be, let's try 45. And maybe let's nudge it over a pixel or two. Same with this one. I want it to be a little bit bigger, and I still want it to be kind of centered. I could polish this for hours, but we're trying to go fast here. And now, woo! Did you see that? It was a little bit subtle. It kind of pops a little, and it looks nice. And by the way, this, when you're in preview mode, it looks kind of rough. That's because you haven't rendered. When you render, then it gets a lot smoother. Same with these ease in and ease out. Yeah, there we go. They're set. So our final rendering is going to look a little bit nicer. Let's make it pop a little bit more. Sometimes it's easy to go. You want to be subtle, but not too subtle. You kind of have to test it back and forth. There we go. I like that. Woo! And I could do more of these. Let's make another one of this and paste. Let's make it go for the full 3 seconds. I'm just gonna copy, paste. He's gonna love to wave. Woo! Let's test it. Perfect. And I could make him, add another character. I could make him say something more interesting than hi. I could make this larger. I could totally replace my character with a better character. You know, this one looks like a beginner level character. I could do a more advanced one. But let's call it good and let's render and save it. And for a small animation, it's very fast. For a larger animation, it's going to take a lot longer. For your first several, you want to make them very, very short. And now we can download it. And I think this gives me an MP4. Yep, MP4. I have to pay if I want the GIF. But an MP4 is another video file. And I'm going to show you how to convert it into a GIF in just a second. And let's open this. Woo! See how it was smoother? It's a lot smoother. Oh. Ha ha ha. But this is just a video file. So if I could upload this to YouTube right now, but it would look kind of... People have to say play. It's a 2-second animation, which isn't very, it's not YouTube worthy, but it is GIF worthy. So let's convert MP4 to GIF online. We don't want to download anything. We just want to try and do it online. And I can't remember which one's the best, but let's see if we can do this. I'm just trying this one. I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen. Woo! There it is. There's my GIF. And notice it kind of has this noise on it, but that's okay. We're building this for free. We're not professionals yet. And if I make it smaller, that's great. And now I could publish this pretty much anywhere. I could go to Quora. I could go to Giphy, Giphy, and I could put this in my blog. The cool things about GIFs is that they play. People don't have to click on them. They just play. If I go to Giphy like this, I just see GIFs. People don't have to click play. So they're very, very, very powerful. You can use them for educational purposes. You can, if someone gets an answer wrong, you can force them to watch a GIF. You could just display a GIF that shows an explanation. GIFs are pretty darn powerful. We're going to see a lot. We're already seeing a lot of them. We're going to see even more of them. They're going to replace textbooks. They're going to replace text, and animations like this are definitely the future. So we want to replace our PowerPoint development skills with animation development skills, I believe. Anyway, I hope that was useful, and good luck.